Hey, everybody. John Gumps here, Dakota Grappler Live. We are coming to you on a Wednesday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. I tell you what, we got some great minds here in the house. We got Jeff Schumacher, legendary coach, Bismarck High, but he's got quite the career going back to UND. You name it. He's got some Iowa background, which we'll talk about that tonight a little bit. We've got Bill Holton, who is my right-hand guru, who knows everything college wrestling, and he watches more wrestling than I do, which is kind of hard to do. And then there's Mitch Greenwood, who I tell you what, he's been around a long time, been a good friend, and has helped out with Dakota Grappler. He's wrote articles. He's did rankings in the past. He is up in Cavalier, and I'm going to have each one introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. So first, I'm going to start off actually with Mitch. Mitch, I want you to introduce yourself, tell them where you're at, and what you're currently doing.
Sure. Well, Mitch Greenwood. Currently, I'm teaching physical education and coaching football and wrestling in Cavalier, North Dakota. With our wrestling team, we co-op with Walhalla, so we're the Pembina County North Grizzlies. So right now, Sean Horgan is our head coach for Pembina County North, and I'm what we call our site coach from Cavaliers. So, like tonight was church night, so we don't go and have practice with the Walhalla kids. So I run the practice in Cavalier on those types of nights, and kind of the go-to for a lot of the Cavalier parents and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we're looking forward to a good season.
Well, real quick, how many times do you go to Cavalier, or do they come down there sometimes?
We try to keep it pretty even. So like that last week and this week, we practiced in Walhalla Monday, Tuesday. Then Wednesday, we practice on our own, and then Cavalier Thursday, Friday. Once basketball gets rolling, sometimes gym space is an issue based on who has home games on what nights. So, it's not always a perfect split, but we try to keep it pretty even. And then we actually have 3 wrestlers this year that are coming over from Langdon, and 3 more that have been coming over from Pembina. So Pembina and Walhalla are co-op for all their sports. They're considered North Border, the North Border Eagles. So they're a natural co-op anyway, but Langdon is not part of the co-op. So, but we're the closest town that has wrestling for them. So I think it's about a 25-mile drive. It's to Walhalla from Langdon, and it's about 30 to Cavalier or something like that. So,
okay. Well, that's kind of interesting because it's been a long time since Langdon's had a wrestling team.
Yeah, since before I was in high school. So probably back in the mid to late 90s is when they dropped their program. I think we had 2 boys that wrestled last year from Langdon, and I want to say Sean said he thought that was about the first time in 10 years that we had kids from Langdon. And now this year we picked up a 3rd wrestler, a girl, Sarah Nelson, so we've got 3 girls on the team right now. So it's kind of a growing thing in North Dakota, which is awesome to get them involved as well.
So what are your total numbers right now there?
I think we're sitting right at about 31.
Okay, for a Class B school, it's a good number. Definitely.
Yeah, really good.
Yep.
Definitely. And now we'll introduce Jeff Schumacher. He's up on my top. Jeff, just do a quick introduction about yourself, and then we'll roll a couple questions. Tell us where you started wrestling and what you're currently doing.
So I'm a Bismarck High School grad, and then I went to BSC. I had gone in the military, but I got a scholarship at BSC, a small one, and decided to wrestle there. And went there. I trained a year at the University of Iowa after BSC, and then I went to the University of North Dakota. And after my 2 years of competition up there, I was an assistant coach for 4 years, and then I was the head coach of BSC for 3. Went back up to UND, was a head coach at UND for 1 year, head coach for Minot High School for 3 years. Now I've been the head coach of Bismarck High School for 23 years. And so that's somewhere around 37 years of coaching. And I'm weaning down. I only have 30 years left. So,
oh yeah. Well, that's pretty good. So my first question is, do you remember the first time that you stepped on a wrestling mat when you were young?
I was in I think I was a 5th grader at Richhold Elementary, and the junior high coaches came down after the junior high season was over, and that was, they brought a mat down to every elementary school in Bismarck, and then we actually had practices there for 2 weeks, and then we practiced, and we wrestled a couple other small elementaries, and then they had an all-city tournament. The All City tournament was fairly good size, but it was not really just All City. I remember Napoleon coming up and Fort Yates at that time. Standing Rock had a program, and there were other programs that had, other places, Mandan and St. Mary's good program. And actually, the tournament was at St. Mary's, and so just kind of wrestling till 5th and 6th grade from right there.
Did your brothers join at the same time?
They did. Pretty much. Gary kind of started out in 7th grade in the junior high, so that's kind of what kind of got it started. I think my brother Steve was a sophomore in high school and went out as a sophomore in high school at Bismarck High School, and then Tom was a 6th grader and I was a 5th grader, and so that's kind of how we started.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I have a couple questions about that. So you look at the Bismarck High room and you got Schumacher back to back at 98. Now, did you all win it as juniors?
We all won it as juniors and we all lost it as seniors.
Okay.
So I ended up 4th as a senior, and Gary ended up 3rd as a senior, and Tom ended up 2nd as a senior.
Okay. So, yeah. It's kind of an interesting, because now I couldn't imagine you would be in at 98 pounds.
Not anymore. It's hard to believe that we grew. We were such late growers. My first year of college was at 118, and my last year of college at 150. And every year I drained a lot of weight, cut a lot of weight. And even my senior year at University of North Dakota, I cut a lot of weight. And so we just kept growing in that. And that growing is kind of hard, because you go from here to here and your legs aren't used to it. It's the old, day old deer, day old horse. You can barely stand right and can't get up right. It's a total different experience. And I struggled with that for quite a while in my first couple of years. Then it got better, but I hated wrestling the short, strong, muscular guys, and the short, strong, muscular guys hated wrestling the tall, lean guys. And I always thought they had the advantage. They always thought that I had the advantage, or we had the advantage. And so it's kind of, that's the dynamics of the sport. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, Terry just got on right now, and now you look like the Hulk. He says, Terry Steiner. He just got on.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And put the comment on the bottom. Can you see it on the screen there? It's kind of small, but it says, now you look like the Hulk.
Yeah. Okay.
So tell me a few names. We're going to have a long conversation with you. And Mitch, of course, I won't ignore you. I just want to get with Jeff just a second. Now, do you remember some of the people that really influenced you as you started? Who were some early coaches at Bismarck High? And then who were some of your wrestling partners besides your brothers?
I had some good coaches as I grew up. I really liked Mr. Olson was a really good coach in 7th and 8th grade. And so he did a nice job organizing. We had a lot of kids out. Everybody really liked him. He was a great guy, great person. As an 8th grader, I had Mr. Larry Hogan. He was probably one of my favorites. I just remember you draw sometimes as an athlete, you draw a lot of energy sometimes off your coach if he believes in you. And that guy made me believe it. And what I'm saying is every time I'd be able to go out and wrestle for him, he'd say, hey, let's go out and let's rip this guy. There's no reason why you can't either. And so I'm like, I could barely swallow. I was really nervous and everything else like that. And I'm looking at him going, really? So it was one of them things that you draw energy out of. If you can get, and you hope that as a coach, you can do that. You can give energy to the kids. And that's what we'd like to do as coaches, is let them draw energy off us. So I did off him. And then I had Mr. Schaff, and Mike Schaff did a great job of organizing guys, getting them to the right weight classes. He did a good job pushing buttons in the right directions and he was a very caring person. And so he was awesome. Once I got up to BSC, Milo Trusty and Ed Kringstead were co-head wrestling coaches. Milo was phenomenal. I mean, Milo was a very, very good He can make you to believe in everything that you're doing. Like he would just tell you, you do this and you're going to be good, and so you just hit, or you do this and things are going to get better. And you believe. He was great at making you believe that you're training, you're wrestling, you're getting better, everything was moving forward. All right, and so he could, Milo could really, really sell you.
He's influenced as many wrestlers as I know. He was phenomenal. Yep.
Yeah, one of the great stories I have always said is I was over 3 pounds right before regionals at the junior college, and Milo said, "I heard if you run a mile, you lose a half pound. So you're 3 over?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I just take you out 6 miles and then you run back." This is before weigh-in.
I heard. I like how he says, "I heard you lose."
So I'm going, okay. So he took me out 6 miles. I ran all the way back. He says, "Okay, let's get you on the scale." And then I lost 1.5 pounds. And he goes, "Oh, well, looks like you only lose 1/4 pound instead of half a pound." So it was a whole different scenario. He sold me though. And I ended up making weight. So he was great at selling. He was, and you know what? There's nothing that really makes you feel better than putting in hard work. When I look back at everything, and you could look back at your trophies and everything, and you look at the stuff that you've won. Nothing makes you feel better than your hard work. Your trophies mean, that's awesome and that stuff. But what you put in, and that's more important. And that's what gives you the pride and the joy of what you did. And so I really enjoyed that. So then after that, I went to University of Iowa. I trained for 1 year at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club.
Okay, now before you do that, let's mention a couple more of your wrestling partners. Who else did you wrestle with as individuals? Like in high school? We'll go beyond that.
Well, in high school. So Scotty Nolan was under me. He was JV and I was varsity. And then, so that's how we became best friends, is because we were competing against each other. And finally, we were both wrestling 98 pounds, and he was JV and I was varsity. And we were coming back from Minot, and all of a sudden I just said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" And he just says, "Nothing." I say, "Want to stay over?" And he says, "Sure." And that was the start of our best friend relationship since high school. And Gary and Tom were ahead of me at varsity before them years. And so they were great, all really good partners. We had good teams back then too. And so yeah, they were awesome partners. Working out with, like Terry and Troy when I had the opportunities as I was in college, and that stuff was always a real joy. It was a lot of fun. You're going in there and with them guys, they're going to be on you for an hour and a half. And it's going to feel like they've been on you for 10.5 hours instead of only an hour and a half. So
definitely. Their conditioning was phenomenal. Even in high school, you name it. When they got to college, it was just another level. Even Randy Lewis said they do play a game, and if Terry's still on, he could probably mention this, that they played a game called 21, and where you stayed in the middle and people tried to take you down for 21 times in a row, you were stuck in the middle. And I'm going, oh my, yeah, that was quite the game. And Randy said he finally knew Terry was ready is when he finally got 11 takedowns in that 21 times he was in the middle. And so that's a good comment from Randy Lewis. And that was right before he said he won his national championship.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty good. So you told me a story about your time in Iowa, about how long it took before anybody talked to you. Why don't you, if you're willing to, give a little story about your time in Iowa?
So when I went down to Iowa,
how old are you? And
I would be going into my junior year of college, but I was going out to Dickinson State, and they were saying I could be for my schooling, you want to be a truck driver? Do you want to? I'm like, I couldn't see myself being a truck driver, and I couldn't find really a career that I wanted to choose from there. And I was reading at that time, Amateur Wrestling News was the main magazine, and so I was reading through Amateur Wrestling News, and I always see these Hawkeye wrestling guys on there, and I always seen their wrestling Hawkeye club like that. You can't just go down there and join the club. And so I had met Gable at Junior Nationals in 1981. It was in Iowa City. I met Gable and we talked, and he said, "Yeah, you can come down." He didn't think I was going to come down. It was kind of one of them type of things that he heard it many times from people, and they never showed up. Well, when I got down there, my car, I drove up the hill, and when I drove down the hill, my car quit on me, and I parked in the park. And then I put my bike together and drove up to Hawkeye Wrestling House, up to the Coliseum, and it was 10 o'clock and it was all locked up. So I went back to my car, stayed in my car overnight, and then drove up there the next day. I remember going into the office at 8 o'clock and nobody would say hi to me. And then I left and I went back at 9 o'clock and then 10 o'clock and then 11 o'clock, and nobody would say hi to me. And then finally I walked in, I looked at my watch, and it was 10 minutes to 12. And I thought, well, at 12 o'clock, he's going to go eat, and then it'll be 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. I still won't say anything, and nobody would say hi or say, "Do you need anything?" So finally, when I went in there, Gable looked at me and goes, "You need something?" And I said, "I'm that guy from North Dakota." And he goes, "Oh, so you did come?" And I go, "Yeah." And he says, "So what do you want to do? You want to go to school?" And I said, "No, I don't have any money to go to school. I don't have any money." And he just says, "So what do you want to do?" And I said, "Join the club." And he goes, "Got any insurance?" I go, "No." And he says, "No insurance." And I said, "No." "Where'd you stay last night?" I said, "In the park, in my car." And he goes, "What? Don't you know anybody down there?" I go, "No." He said, "Okay." So he went through his Rolodex, looked at the AAU, and wrote down AAU's phone number. And he goes, "Call AAU. And you got to get insurance right away for the AAU." And then I said, "Okay." So I called AAU, and then about 5 minutes later, he goes, "What'd they say?" And I said, "It takes about 5 days to get it cleared for insurance. I don't want to see you on the mat for 5 days." And I go, "Okay." So then I went downstairs and I got my locker, and then Jay Robinson was the assistant coach at that time. And Jay Robinson said, "Hey, you need a job?" And I was at the right place at the right time. And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Go over to Niall Kinnick Stadium and football stadium, and they'll give you a job. Just tell them Jay Robinson told you." And so I ran over there and I worked at the football field during that fall. And then as I was down there, I was training. Me and another guy from the Hawkeye Wrestling Club house got a house, and then I lived with him for about 2 weeks, and then finally I vacated the guy because he was doing some illegal stuff, and I left and slept in my car for about a week and a half until Robin Ersland saved me.
Okay.
Robin Ersland is the guy. He was working at Niall Kinnick Stadium with me, and Robin said, "You need a place to stay." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You can have my couch." And so I got his couch, and that's how me and Robin Ersland became best friends and got to know each other. So yeah, but I didn't talk for months upon months. I mean, like 3 months. All I did is tried to find a partner to wrestle, and that was it. And I took my lickings for the first good 3 months until I started scoring a little bit here, a little bit there. And then guys would start talking to me. But literally when I left the University of Iowa, and I still didn't have any friends down there until Terry and Troy Steiner started calling me and having me come down for summer camps. When I'd come down to summer camps, I'd wrestle a lot of them varsity guys that were on the team that were winning national titles. Lenny Zaleski and Kevin Dressler, the head coach of Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Dressler, and we would have some really fairly close goes. And then and they all of a sudden recognized me as I was pretty good. I was okay. I was, so I was respectable. So now if they could talk to me, it was lying in. And so it's one thing that I'm not really in favor of down there is you have to be good in order for them to talk to you, it seemed like. And
But you were good with what moved. You told me that story. Riding, legs.
I was good on top.
Yep.
On top. So in other words, we wrestled Iowa State, the University of Iowa did, and Lenny Zaleski, the 42-pounder, he was a 2-time national runner-up. As he was wrestling a guy named Conrad. His last name was Conrad. He was a really good leg rider. So anyway, Conrad went a 5-4 match or a 4-3 match against Lenny Zaleski the first time they wrestled Iowa State. They always go home to home. And when the second time, Lenny Zaleski came in the room before the Iowa State duel, he came in on Monday and said, you want to wrestle today? I mean, they never asked me to wrestle. I was wrestling all JV guys wrestle JV guys. You know, it's kind of like the ninth graders wrestle ninth graders in practice. Your worst guys get down the end. So anyway, so we went down the end and we never went one takedown for 4 solid days. All he did is he would go down. I would be on top, ready wrestle. I'd throw on the legs and just ride. And then he would just say, what do you think I should do? What? I would do this. 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 And so when it came to the duel against Iowa State, Zaleski ends up beating him like 10-2. Reversed him, got away in like 9 seconds, 10 seconds. And when he came off, Gable just like, why didn't you do that the first time? And he goes, what was the big difference? And he goes, I was wrestling Schumacher all week. And he says, what is he? Any good? Does he do anything good? And he said, well, he's a good leg rider. And he goes, no. And he taught me a lot of things about how to get out of legs. And then he was just like, oh. So then on Monday, Gable comes out of his office, and me and Gable, for some unknown reason, the only ones in the office again. It was about noon. He comes out and he goes, so I heard you're a pretty good leg rider. And I go, and I was like, yeah, I did. I was so nervous talking to him. And he says, I go, I don't know. And he goes, either you are or you're not. And I go, I don't know. I guess so. And he goes, well, Lenny Zaleski says you're a really good leg rider. And I go, oh, and he goes, he said you're the reason why he beat him 10-2. And I go, oh. And he goes, I want to thank you for that. And I go, I'm like, okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. And that was all my talking for the rest of the month, I think. And I think I was carried out of that office by a cloud that seemed to lift me up and carry me out of that place, because I felt, Gable does a really good job of making you feel good about what you are. Mm-hmm. And it was really funny. He made me feel bad a couple times too. One time we were wrestling Greco, and he goes, "Okay, today we're going to wrestle Greco." And I go, "Oh my God, Schumacher, you got a problem with that?" I go, "Not a problem." but they pick on you and make fun of you and that stuff. So, but yeah, it's the Iowa way is, boy, you gotta do well to be respected. Otherwise, you're not respected. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. That's why I had Terry on. We talked women's wrestling last time he was on. I really like to talk about his Iowa background. So Terry, if you're still on, give me a thumbs up if you're available sometime. I'll get you on in the near future here so we can talk Iowa wrestling. That's kind of what's funny is I grew up loving Iowa. Some of the first camps I ever went to were with the Bannocks, Ed and Lou Bannock. You probably, I know those Garrison Triangle Y camps. Terry and Troy Steiner, we were cabin mates in that thing, and several people, we could bring back the names. In fact, I still have the paddle with all their signatures on it. Not that it's worth anything, but it's physically, mentally it is, yes. But now there's Terry is thumbs up. Thank you, Terry. We'll get you on in the very near future. Maybe next Wednesday, Terry, if you're available. Okay, well, give me another thumbs up if you want that. Okay. We do them at 8:00 Central. Okay, now the next thing, Mitch, and not to ignore you, I want to know, Mitch, I've never asked you, where did you start your wrestling?
Right here in Cavalier. This is my hometown. So
first time getting on the mat?
Second grade, they came around and passed out a form probably in mid-February or early March, and we would do probably 6 weeks of PB wrestling and a week or two of practice, and then we'd have tournament every weekend for 4 or 5 weekends. It'd be all the local towns. Cavalier would have one, then Walhalla, then Langdon, and sometimes we'd get crazy and go to Warren, Minnesota, or something like that. But we probably never traveled more than 40 or 50 miles, and got 5 or 6 tournaments, and then that was it, and, until the next year. So
when did you ever think of coaching wrestling?
I got into coaching just about right after high school. I always thought that from a young age I had a dream that I was going to go play college football somewhere, and it was kind of a funny deal when it came down to it. I had the opportunity. I had opportunity to go to NDSU or UND. I had scholarship offers to both, and our high school football team, we were undefeated state champions, and I kind of felt like, I did a lot in football, and I kind of was satisfied with that. But my senior year in wrestling, I was number 1 ranked heavyweight in the state and lost by a point in the semifinals, and I felt like I got some unfinished business. So pass up on those football opportunities to take a $100 scholarship that almost paid for 1 math textbook at MSU on Moorhead. So went wrestled for the Dragons for a year, and after that year, I kind of just, I don't know, I did some things that I proved to myself that I could do what I wanted to do, and after that, I transferred back to get a little bit closer to home. I didn't really know what I wanted to go into, and when I decided teaching was what I wanted to do, Mayville State was kind of the best option for me. It's a big teaching school, and so I did play 1 year of football there, and we went 0-10, but I got to play every game. It was kind of nice. I didn't have to go and sit on the bench and watch the football team. I got to participate. But when football season was over, it's like, well, what am I going to do now? So I drove over to the high school and asked them if I could help out. And they had a kind of a position open, and I got into it. So I was 18, 19 years old, and I was assistant coach at Mayport CG. And I coached there for 7 years, and got the head coaching job when I think I was 21, and kind of never looked back. So.
Oh yeah, because you've coached now how many places? So you went there from Mayville to.
Yeah, I was in Mayville. I was the assistant coach for 4 years, then head coach for 3. And then I got my first full-time teaching job in Bow Bells, North Dakota, and they're co-opted with Kenmare. So I coached for a year there. Decided real quick that Bow Bells was not where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. Nothing against Bow Bells. It's a great place, but 300 people and in the middle of nowhere. So then that spring I went to Iowa to the middle school national duels. I was helping Kel Dangerud coach out there. I'd gone with him a couple times when I was in Mayville, and he invited me to come back that year. And Sean Horgan was on that trip, and I think we shared a room and we were visiting, and I said, I saw there was a open coaching position in Watford City, and said, I'm thinking I might apply for it. And he said, well, you should, because he said, I just applied to be the principal out there. And he said, so I'll put me on your resume as a reference, and I'll put in a good word for you. And it worked out. They called me, they offered me the job a couple days later, and then it just so happened that Sean, he decided not to go out there. So, but he was a big help in getting me that job. So I went out to Watford City, and I was there for 7 years. And then,
man, time flies. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. So now, then opportunity came to move back to my hometown, and, teaching position was available. Coaching football was available. Coaching wrestling was available. And it was just a great fit. And, my wife is originally from Northwood, North Dakota. So that's over here in the eastern part of the state. So, we had our first child on the way. So what a great chance to get home, get close to family, and just a really good fit. So now we've been back here in Cavalier for 2 years. So I think my math is right. This is my 17th year coaching.
So. Wow. Billy, I don't know. It's a lot of time.
Yeah. No,
hey,
Mitch has been around a long time.
Let's have you fire a couple questions, Bill, at Shuey.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, spending time talking to Jeff is always it's a treat. You really there's just such a wealth of knowledge. But one thing I guess we haven't probably talked about much is your time at UND. Give us, obviously there's no program there right now, and but that was give us a little history there on what your time at UND was like, and who was in the room, and who what you guys did when you were there.
When I was at UND, when I was in there from 82 to 84, me and Scotty Nolan and a guy named Mike Kellner out of Belva was good. Perone was there. We had a really good heavyweight drill.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Gunderson, Jerry Larson, I'm sorry. And we had some pretty good kids. More so my second year than my first year, but we were pretty competitive. I mean, a guy Jack Ringo out of Alexander, Minnesota, but we started becoming very competitive, and it was a big deal that we were able to get Scotty up there and Kellner up there, and Brad Kerr was an assistant coach at that time, and he was kind of a gruff old guy, and he wasn't old, but he was the young guy that just he came in, and it was all about hard work and effort. That's all it is. I mean, that's what wrestling is hard work and effort. And I don't care who you are, technical skills, they matter, but they don't matter that much. You just need to stay in somebody's guy's face all the time. And so that's kind of how we coached. Rob Stiles was the head coach at that time. And it wasn't recruited real hard until Brad really came up through the assistant coaching position. As I was there for 2 years, Brad was finishing his master's degree, and then when I graduated, Brad became the head coach and I became assistant. And then we really started turning some things around. We beat NDSU in 1987, first time, in years we had beaten them. And so it was really something. Randy Gust became our heavyweight. We had just a lot of pretty good guys, that did a great job. We recruited out of North Dakota guys, where they were used to recruiting a lot of Minnesota guys. We recruited a lot of North Dakota guys and really started turning the program around. I think we ended up 4th or 5th at nationals that year. And the year before, we were about the same too. So now we start getting on the national scene.
So like Presler, I'm trying to think of some of those other 87 guys, because that would have been Presler out of Alexander, Minnesota. I used to know the UND team pretty well.
Yeah, Presler came in right when I left in 88.
Okay.
But yeah, he was his brother wrestled for Wilmer Community College.
Okay.
They were and so did Presler. We got him from the junior college.
Oh, really? Okay.
Wilmer Community College. He wrestled the first 2 years out there. And so he was tough. I actually think he wrestled one, but he was so far ahead in his credit hours. His second year, he came to UND. That's it. That's what it was.
Yeah, he's super smart. He's actuary out in Wisconsin now.
Yeah.
Yep. His wife actually was roommates with my wife. That's I got to know him too.
Oh,
okay.
There you go.
Yep. So that's interesting story. No, I remember the years when you were starting to first recruit for up there. So I forgot that you'd left in 87, 88. Was it the 88 year you went to BSC?
Yes.
Okay.
89 was my first year.
So then who were some of your first wrestlers up at BSC?
Copenhagen out of Carrington.
Okay.
Really did a nice job for us.
Lance Potter.
Lance Potter.
Was one of your first ones?
Carl Lemke.
Oh, Carl. Yep.
Carl Lemke was there. Let's see. Kringley out of Bismarck.
Okay.
High school. Ekstrom out of Mandan was there for a little while. And then we had a couple Montana kids, a couple Colorado kids.
Then 89, you got Shannon Johnson, and
yep. Then we started getting 89 with Shannon Johnson. He was awesome. Lingenfelder.
Yep. 89. Yep.
He was phenomenal. He had a phenomenal 4-year career.
Mm-hmm.
let's see. Yeah, Richie Steidler.
Okay.
For me at BSC, and all them guys were. Hansen out of rugby. He was
Okay.
for me at 118 at that time. So at the Junior College Nationals, I think in 1990, we must have had eight All-Americans.
Did you guys take second or third that year?
We ended up third, I believe.
Third.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing that trophy up there.
Yeah. So we had a really, really good year that year. And so I was there for 5 years. And so that was a lot of fun. But then after 5 years there, then I went up to UND for 1 year. That's when Anderson wrestled for me. Out of
Carrington.
Carrington.
Jason.
Yeah, Jason. He was really something. I mean, he was tearing up the world. When I left and I found out he quit wrestling, I was like, what do you mean? You know, I mean, he was phenomenal. He had a huge gas tank and that. And then when I had left, then the other Carrington boy came up, Doc
Wagner.
Jason Wagner. Yep.
Wagner came up, and he was up there for part of the time while I was up there. So Jason was really good. Cole Lucier was up there and was a national runner-up the year before. All right, so he did a nice job. And then Jerome Dakota.
Okay.
Jerome Dakota wrestled for me, and he was great. He was just awesome. He was a great teammate for everybody because everybody loved Jerome. And so, other North Dakota guys that just did a fantastic, Lance Andersons, and we had a lot of fantastic guys that did awesome job. So we competed real well.
So what was the biggest transfer when you went to college, coming back down to the high school? Not that it is, I don't want to say back down, but then you went to Minot for a few years. What was the biggest thing for you? Was it just being able to have more physical contact, or when I'm talking, competition wise, or what was the next step when you went to high school?
When you go to the high school, I think the big thing with me was I was missing the college workout because I got to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I got all the time then, and so challenging myself amongst the college guys was always a joy. And then that which sharpens you up because your skill level keeps lifting and keeps going up as you're wrestling good competition in the practice room. And that was always fun. But once you got down to high school, I always tell everybody, here's the deal. You're carrying for all the kids. Doesn't matter if they're college kids or they're high school kids, you still feel the pain and you still feel the victories that they have. You still feel it all. And so as far as coming down to the high school and that stuff, boy, I don't miss that I went that way at all.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's been a great ride that I went to the high school level. I got to coach with my best friend, and all these years got to hang out with him. Our families are best friend families with Scotty, and it's been fantastic doing the high school. So obviously you don't get that quality of level of kids, but it sure is fun training them. It's not any different, I don't think. You try to still have the high level technical skills.
Well, you've done something right. How many D1 or All-Americans have you had on your Bismarck I team since you've been there?
All-Americans from the high school level?
Yep. When it comes to like junior and cadets and
boy, I haven't counted in that stuff, but I would say we have to be close. I'd like to say we're close to, for me, probably 15 to 20. And then I was always helping Scotty coach all the years, you know what I mean? From there. So I had a couple in Minot. They were all Americans. And then mostly the Bismarck high school guys, and we probably had between junior nationals and then you have the Virginia Beach. And Virginia Beach was really something. I mean, there for a while, it was really something. That was a huge thing to go to. So I would say 18, 20, probably a good 18, 20 because of the Greco and freestyle. We're pretty good in Greco.
which is kind of funny in a lot of ways, but you've been very successful in Greco.
Yes.
No, Scotty's boy was an All-American there.
Joe.
Yep. And so, no, that's amazing that you guys can bring another type of wrestling besides just the high school style, folk style.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's always makes it fun. I always say there's 3 styles and not much different than 3 different types of, there's judo, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu. They're about the same thing. Wrestling as Greco, freestyle, the folk style, it's not, I don't know, not much different. You'd probably be going on all 3 of them.
So let's talk your mindset right now for this year's wrestling team. Now you have a ton of talent in your room this year. You have, I think, 8 guys that have been in the state finals and in past, and maybe 7 of those have been state champions. As you start developing a team, not many people know this, but maybe the coaches in North Dakota do, but you wrestle every day in practice. How important do you think that is for coaches to be involved in that aspect of the sport?
I'm 59, so I'm not 29 anymore, but I'm still enjoying it. So like today, I thought for sure I'd get to sit out and hold up the mats against the wall. But then, Brock and them guys were rolling around and that stuff. And then it's hard to find, we're telling them get different partners. And then so finally you just say, hey, you want to go? And sure.
I just thought you planned to have odd numbers all the time so you could squeeze in there.
Yeah. That's right. I got to work on that. Yeah. Well, what happens, you jump in and then one kid goes, I don't have a partner. And you go, okay, Brock and Billy, you guys all go together. So because that's exactly what happened today. Brock says, you want to go today? So I went with Brock, and then Willie didn't have a partner. So they'll find one.
Yeah, so I was thinking along the way with the mindset stuff. Now, how would you approach? Now, you've had a lot of successful teams. So going into the season, your talent level's high, but you have to keep everybody kind of that's coming into the room that's new and fresh. Or what are you doing to balance things out between all the the talent, bringing a new level of wrestling to those kids too that are going to the next level?
Well, it's somewhat hard because it used to be that if you got a college guy, a college guy can used to be able to really come into your room, but you can't go into the college person's room because that's illegal recruiting. What I mean? As a high school kid, and so, but so we're trying to keep everything sharp, but then you got a couple COVID kids guy probably gone, and you're getting the big guys in the room is always somewhat difficult. Now Hughes has got to sit out for a couple more weeks before his knee's good. And it just seems like we got a lot of guys gone. And we were hoping to go to Reno this year. We were hoping to go to Reno, get in the top 4, replace in the top 3, top 4, and get a national ranking. We thought that we could get in the top 25 because, you have Christian and Willie. They're both All-Americans. Then you have Stavajo was an All-American at times. So they give you credit for that. And then you also, he's done a nice job. And then Brock and Renner are they're really getting tough. And then you got Kringley, who's wrestling real well. And then you have Hoos. I mean, they were good guys to take to a big time tournament. And then
you have LJ, who's always going to show up. He's been on the national scene forever, and he's just a freshman.
Well, and he's wrestling really well and really tough. He's looking good. And so we have them guys that we think that we can take to almost any tournament and still place. And them guys would all place. We feel like that. And so we felt that if we could go down to Reno, we could definitely place in top 3, top 4. And that would give us a national ranking. That's where we had to go.
I definitely thought this year's team, you could be a nationally ranked team. Yeah, definitely. And knock on wood, maybe it'll still happen, but it's crazy. Yeah. But not being able to travel out of the state of North Dakota, how many duels have you even set up? Or are you still kind of in the motion of still fixing your schedule?
We still have a couple of them that are up there that we could still add to the situation. But
do you want to explain to people what the West is doing for wrestling, or what North Dakota is doing Class A wise?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are doing, Mitch, and that stuff, but I know that in Class A, we're doing all WDA duels, and that's it. And then the max you can really have is a triangular. That's max. You can't go to a quad as of yet, a quadrangular or anything like that. Well, so we can do it. What are they doing in Class B, Billy?
We're a little bit more lenient, I guess. From what I understand, we're staying in the state of North Dakota, but I guess I saw on our schedule we had a duel scheduled with like Greenbush, Minnesota. I was kind of surprised to see that was still on there. But we're not really necessarily restricted to our region. I know we picked up a triangular. We're going to go down to Carrington and have a triangular with them in Killdeer. So Killdeer, coming from the Region 4. I saw we had another triangular where we'll go to Hillsboro and we'll have Lisbon there also. So we're going to see some of those schools from the other regions. From what I hear, the big difference is the tournaments have been pretty well shut down. Not that there's still going to be tournaments, but they're going to be restricted to 4 or 5 teams. There'll probably be like a round robin individual tournament type thing. We had talked about that, some of these schools that are big enough, they have 2-3 gyms. They might split the tournament in half and say, okay, the first 7 weights, you're going to be in the North gym and the next 7 weights are going to be in the South gym, and keep the kids in there. Don't intermix, and you have your camps, and you go to your team camp, and that's it. But I think we are going to see a pretty good mix of kids from around the state, which should probably help for state seeding when it comes to that time. But it's going to be a lot different than what we're used to, that's for sure.
So Class B has a chance for quite a few more matches.
You did a better job politicking than obviously we did, because ours is a quad. Ours is triangulars, and you can't leave the WDA.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something to that. Obviously, when you just look at the COVID numbers in the Burleigh County or Cass County, that it really kind of Grand Forks County, it kind of gets everybody saying, hey, we shouldn't be mixing with the whole state. I guess I'm sure that's a situation, and I think the Class B kids will get to see. They're not going to end up with probably any more matches, than the Class A kids, but they, we're going to get some of those matches. Like I see that, like we've got I think Carrington has a quadrangular with at Velva with Velva, Hettinger, Carrington, and Kenmare. So. That's not something we'd ever have. We'd never do any of those teams, none of them. So, we may see some of those guys, at East West or, at a tournament here and there, but, Linton, but that's kind of interesting. That's kind of a neat deal. I think we have a triangular with Bishop Ryan, who's a team we never ever dueled before. We would see him obviously in tournaments, but I think that's a Bishop Ryan. Gosh, I don't remember who that one's with. Bishop Ryan, and maybe that might be with North Border. That might be our Pembina County North. That might be that.
I think when we come to Carrington, it's us in Carrington and Killdeer.
Oh, that's Killdeer. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be some interesting stuff that way. I don't know. I know, John, you mentioned something about the ability to have fans, and I'd be curious to hear what the latest statement is there. But I know Carrington's first duel, it's actually a triangular, is the 15th at Hillsboro against Hillsboro and Grafton. And as of right now, it sounds like no fans, but I don't, that could change between now and then. So,
well, let me pop this up really quick. This is what the High School Activities Association had put up, and those that are watching, you can see the guidance of what they said. So a gym that's under 1,000 people, so that's most Class B, it says 25% of occupancy up to 150 people.
Okay.
And so if Carrington Gym holds, let's say 500 people, okay, 25% of that's 125 people, 120 people. But that does not count athletes and coaches. So now it's going to be up to the home facilities to determine, guess what? We're not going to let fans come from other places.
Right.
and you're going to have just home people coming in, I'm guessing, is what's going to happen in a lot of places. So the parents of the wrestlers there can help work it, do all the other things. So it's going to be interesting in that sense. Now, I'm trying to think of the biggest gyms in Bismarck. I don't know what our capacity is at Century, but if everything's pulled out, I know it's over 1,000. It's between 1,000 and 2,000. So we could have 250. And most of our duels in Bismarck, unless it's a Bismarck Century, Bismarck High duel, we get those numbers there, but the other ones don't. St. Mary's is big. That has a lot of space. Legacy is really big. That has a big gym. We possibly could have, everybody be able to bring two fans or something like that. But I have not heard the exact thing yet either on that.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good to see. Yeah. So I think, there's going to be, it'll be an interesting season. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I know, of course, Mitch took off here now, but I'm wondering if, he mentioned Greenbush. I do, as far as I know, I think the state of Minnesota shut down.
Minnesota is not wrestling right now. No.
Yeah.
But I do feel that Class B will have twice the matches of Class A, with even having tournaments. So we're trying to get, 2 matches in, maybe 4 matches a week. If we can get a guy with 15, 20 matches going into regional, it'll be a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
And it's crazy on how that is. And just wrestling the West, we haven't talked about seeding. I think that could be a big discussion. The West is so much tougher than the East, and I've nothing against the people in the East, but that is, I'll debate it with anybody out there, that you'll find a lot of weight classes will have 4 out of the top 5 guys sometimes out of the West, and the East will pull a guy in here and there. But so if you go 1 versus 8 versus each region, we're going to have some upsets for the West, and it could get kind of ugly. But I guess that's the way it goes. It's going to almost have to be that way, the seeds, and go that way, because you're not going to get to see the East. And it's just be too much of an argument. There's no argument if you just get, guess what? We're going 8-1. You don't have to worry about the seeding meeting and go anything else. And so, somebody just put a comment here about Minnesota. So it says Minnesota has a start date of the 21st as of right now. Talking to my brother, he is thinking after Christmas. So they get to probably practice. And Tony, thank you so much. That helps out a ton. Here's South Dakota. Now, I know Bismarck High this weekend would have been going down to Rapid City. They are having their tournament. So people that are doing, some people said Rapid City is not going, Rapid City is going. But what they're doing is they've got a large facility, and they're doing 2 different things. They're having a dual tournament on one of the days, and the other day they're doing a individual tournament. So the first day on Friday, they're going to start in the afternoon, but they're going to break it into pods of groups of 7 or 8, and then they're going to be in different locations. So that 7 teams are here, 7 teams are here, and 7 teams are here, and they're going to go that way. And so that, or something like that. And he says he depends on the total numbers, but it could be 8, could be 7 and 1 or whatever. But they're going to form a tournament for each one of those. And then the next day, then they're going to match up some duels and have JV too. So it's going to be interesting. And maybe Tom can give us, Tom's on here, and he says that he's going to miss you, Jeff, this year at the Rapid City Invite. Tom Schoenhardt. Yep. And so, it's been great competition. I've always loved, Mandan went down there for years. And just the chance of making the finals of the Rapid City tournament, it's a great tournament to really judge on where you're at early in the season. You get great competition. They had a second chance thing on Saturday morning where guys got extra matches. So it's gonna be interesting on what they're going to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens down at Rapid City this weekend. Definitely.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting season, and to see how it shakes out. I hate to change things up again, but I want to talk a little bit to Jeff about we had Jim Makovsky on here a week ago. We were able to talk about some of those old wrestling camps that you put on in Bismarck. I want to hear about those. I mean, who came to those camps as clinicians? How'd you get them there? What did talk about the atmosphere. Talk about, what happened those days.
So we had some good groups of guys. I mean, Gable came up. I think Gable came up 3 times. And then we had Dave Schultz came in. And he brought in Valentino Jordanov with him. And we had Randy Lewis 2-3 times. We had the Steiner brothers. Mark Ryland was national champion. The guy at Iowa had another national champion. Lincoln McElravy came up a bunch of years, and he was training up here. Actually won a national title, junior national title then, and got his name out there, and then ended up going to Iowa. John Smith came up 3 times, I believe. Kenny Monday came up, and Jimmy took care of Kenny Monday. He took Kenny Monday out and that stuff, and took him out to the soda bars a couple of times, and I had a great time with Kenny. So we had some really dynamic guys that we brought in, some awesome guys back then, So, and we had, and like I said, we ran some long days. We were up by 6:30 at the gymnasium. By 6:45. We crawled into the gymnasium, but as soon as you get into the gym, then we were standing up, chests were out. All right, guys, let's go. My group, Schumacher group over here, Bukowski's group over here, the top guys and that stuff. Let's go. We're running. And so it was a lot of fun. But then, we ran 4 a day, so we had 4 practices in the day. And I'm telling you, we worked the kids extremely hard. But we always told guys, you'll never work harder in wrestling in something like that ever again. How many people get four workouts in a day? And let me tell you, Bukowski made many of them throw up while he was having them run up Tom O'Leary and then down, and then Buddy carries up and then down and screaming at him like a drill sergeant. How Bukowski can be.
Well, he got on here. I don't know if you saw that, he made a comment.
I did.
You did see it. You didn't comment. Okay. Yeah. The old bench press. That's
two Makovskis. He can bench press 2 Makovskis.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then at nighttime we were, it was one of them things where we're done. Right. We're going home. We're going to be sleeping by 8:00. We were sleeping by 3 a.m. That's usually, you just get up and you start talking. I mean, what ends up happening is you end up going out and it's all talking, wrestling till 3 a.m. And then all of a sudden, geez, I got to get some sleep. I got 3 hours to sleep, and then we got to get up. And like I said, the last guy in the car had to drive while we got another 10 minutes to sleep on the way there. So yeah, they were a blast. I had 5 years of camps, and we were bringing in a lot of kids. We turned it from a 1 week intensive into a 2-week intensive camps.
Okay.
So they were really awesome. And then probably the best guy, to come out, and show technical skills was Makovsky himself, of course. The man. It was so funny because he's got stories of Dave Schultz, watching Dave Schultz show technical skills, and Dave was kind of funny when he showed technical skills and that stuff. And Jordanov could barely speak any English. And I got in a big argument with John DuPont on the phone about John DuPont was mad at me because I called Schultz and I didn't call him first because he's responsible for Schultz. And I said, well, John, I'll fly you out too. No, I'm just mad at you.
Is that's part of the Foxcatcher time?
Yes. Yeah, it was. Because he was shot in 95 then. But the situation would happen in 1992, 93, I think it was, when that happened. 93, actually. And I think Foxcatcher, the thing with Foxcatcher happened in 95.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, they were fantastic camps. They really were.
Did you know Dave Schultz?
No. I just made a phone call. It just really kind of you just get on the phone and make a phone call and throw some money at them, and they were willing to do it. You throw the right amount of money at it, everybody's willing to do it. And then, like I said, the other part is Dave took care of Valentino and financially too, and that stuff most of the time, and assisted in that process. So he just said, okay, if I come out, I'm going to get this amount of money. I need Valentino to get paid. Well, what's Valentino get paid? You tell me. And then he'd tell me, and I go, okay, bring him out. So it was good for Valentino too. So he's getting paid, and it was always cash, cash.
So in your early days, who did you go traveling? Because you went traveling for some camps too. Who did you go with on some of those things?
Oh, just to go to camps and that stuff.
Yeah, besides your own.
I would say, Terry and Troy. A lot of times I went to camps and that stuff. Whether they were in high school, I'd end up going with them. Jimmy Makovsky, we did some traveling and that stuff too. And then I would go. If I went down to Iowa, they would work me into work the camp, and that was always good as a clinician. So that was kind of nice because they usually had about 7 or 8 clinicians and that stuff, and Gabe would just say, "Oh, you're down here, want to work?" And I say, sure, that'd be great. I'll pay you then, And I just say that was great. He was always very, very easy to work with, and he was always he's a super good guy. He was a really good guy. He takes care of his guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome.
Well, I tell you what, you can go here in a second, Bill, but one of the things that I saw, Melmer got to go to Alaska, and he worked at camp up there this summer.
Oh yeah. That I heard that. That was pretty awesome.
Jealous of that one.
Yeah, that's right. The fishing there, that's awesome. I mean, I've never gone to Alaska before. I've gone up to Canada a few times, and then done camp up in the University of Regina, and so that was awesome. They came down all the time. University of Regina came down all the time. Bob Lowe used to bring them down, and now the McGee brothers would bring them down. And now they lost the program at the University of Regina, so there's no longer a program.
Okay. So then when you did your summer camps, did you bring in specialists for just those certain styles, for Greco and for freestyle?
At that time, it was just the name. You bring in the name, they know how to, John Smith at that time was so hot with his low single that, everybody wanted to bring him in. He was a constant call week after week after week after week to finally lock him in. Gable was the same way. Gable was you had to call him all the time to lock them in because they were, oh yeah, sounds good, but you were never locking them in. When that was it. So he kept calling and kept calling and kept calling. Can I put your picture on a poster? Can I put your picture on a poster? Now, okay, so that means I could put your picture. Well, not yet. So you constantly making them phone calls. And then the other ones, Randy Lewis really enjoyed coming up. So he was an easy one. Randy coming up. Yep, I'm on my way up. I'll be up there for sure. He loved coming up. Loved it. And he was treated like a king when he came up here too, So it was always great having Randy up.
Yep. Okay. Bill, got some more questions?
Yeah, I'm curious to know, Jeff. When you go out and you're a clinician at these camps, it seems like when a clinician comes in, they work on a certain set of skills. What are you showing when you're going to a camp outside of the area? Right, you're going with just you got an afternoon session or a morning session. What are you showing?
I would say I'm probably strongest in leg riding area, so crossbody leg riding and that stuff. I would say that I'm pretty good, and sometimes I'd like to say I'm somewhat sneaky on bottom, so I could show some sneaky skills and that stuff. But sometimes that certain things people will struggle picking up because it's maybe the funk or something like that. But I like to think that my leg riding would be good, how I approached getting on a person and riding. So that was my, it's like one of these things. Second period, you look over and you got your choice, and the coin flip goes red, and you got red, and the kid always looks at you and they go, and every coach goes down, and you go, you don't down. It all depends upon the kid, because that would I always would tell some other people, why go down? That was my best position on top. Why would you go down? You know what I mean? So I would say, if they asked me, where are you the best at, I would probably say top and leg riding. But if we got to our feet, I can show combinations of singles and doubles and high crotches. Right now, maybe underhooks, because Yeah, you don't want the guys too far away from you. You can get into underhook. You can stall a lot longer now, and that stuff. So that'd be where I'd enjoy being in the most. Give me an underhook. So that'd be fun.
Have you ever took time and wrote down your practice plans? The reason I ask is because I think that'd be gold, but because it's kind of interesting because you've always been kind of free thought. You're such a good, like you can pick up what people are missing and you could go into that area and so forth. I've watched the Mat Pack stuff after a tournament. You notice what's happening and you kind of work off of that. Is it more a feel or is it kind of a structured plan throughout the year? This is what I kind of want to do.
So if we watch a duel, I can pick up fairly quickly on where our weaknesses are. Whether we're attacking too much. Sometimes you're always in the attack mode, which isn't good because if you're in the attack mode, sometimes you might never get a leg and you feel defeated, and then sometimes you don't need to be in the attack mode, and so I would say sometimes you're working into that realm, but I don't, before practice starts, I'll write down and then I'll go. But I have a list of probably 20 takedowns that we want to go over, and a list of 20 takedowns that you do, 3, and then he does 3, and then I evaluate kind of like who's good at it and who's not good at it, and where do we really need work on them. Because you look at some of these guys sweep singles, and you got half the team with good ones, half the team not, and you're going, we need to cover this. We need to cover it more so that everybody gets this thing down. And then you have your high crotches and doubles and the evolution, all that stuff. But I still like to go into the international wrestling of watching the Russians and seeing what's new on their scene and what they're doing. And then you got Chamizo out here and what's he doing? The outside step is a big deal now. And so you're trying to teach that. But let me tell you, they don't pick it up very well. The kids really struggle with an outside step.
How about defending the funk stuff that people are doing nowadays? Where you're passing legs and
we went into a little bit of that yesterday and that stuff, and I think it may really help you. I mean, it's something that sometimes you almost have to do because once you get into college, it seems like everybody's funking out there. Everybody's getting good at it. You watch, Cornell now that they have the 2 freaks. That it's kind of like Atarujo or the small guy, and then they got Yanni. They're free.
Yanni and Vito both. Yep.
Man, my God! I mean, you get a leg, and they can twist their knees left and right, and then the chest locks and how they sprawl, and then pretty soon you're in a near side cradle because you shot in on a single leg, and you're like, holy crap! So yeah, you almost have to get into some of them avenues, and we do try and dive into some of that stuff. But that's for some guys, you know what I mean? You got to get sometimes your higher cream of the crop to be able to do that, because some of the other cream of the crop, some of the other guys, you're trying to teach them, okay, with your right leg you're doing this, and they're on their left leg the whole time, and you're like, wait, once I didn't do that, my hands were here, and you got your hands down here, and you're just like, you're not even close. All right, let me grab it. Because if you can get your good guys to do it, a lot of times that's a trickle down effect.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you work at.
Definitely.
So how much wrestling video do you watch a day, Jeff?
My wife's here. Probably an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff said one time to Billy and I that if someone's not watching an hour of video a day, they're not serious. And I will tell you that Billy took that to heart. I didn't know how I was going to get down to just watching an hour, but I've cut it down, so I only watch an hour. But I mean it's in an
hour 3 times a day.
When I know when if you asked Billy today that he would remember that conversation, and it was, I don't know, we were on our way to I guess we were going to Iowa. We must have been going to
I was gonna say, I think you were going to preseasons, could be, or
It may have been, I don't know if it may have even been the regional, may have been the freestyle. Yeah. But yeah, and it really left an impression, and I just know it's important. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, I would have a hard time finding too many people that would say that, the most knowledgeable clinician we have in the state is not Jeff Schumacher. I mean, there's no doubt about that, I think, in everybody's mind. And he's still watching an hour or so of video a day to try to learn more. And we are in such a, great time that we're able to see it. I mean, you can watch just about every match from Russian nationals. I mean, it's unbelievable, and if you take the time to slow some of those down and look at them and look at the positions and look at the stuff they're doing, it's really fun.
It's phenomenal. My favorite is watching these guys come out and they shake hands, and they're so cordial when they're shaking hands. You know what I mean? They're patting the other guy in the back and everything. And then even in the second period, and they're really cordial even when they lose. Everybody is extremely. They're way more cordial than the Americans. And then they're they pat you on the back. But then ready wrestle, they tie up so slow, and then here comes twisters and all the stuff coming at you so fast. Holy crap, that was and they tie up so easy, and we're like in practice, and you're just so scared to tie up because he might shoot on you, and you're going, just get your hands on him, so that's funny. I don't know. I watched just. Maybe video on that stuff.
Jim asks a question. Shuey, tell the story about the kid that you were working with a lot and lost the first round of the road. He came off the mat and said, "I did everything you said, and I still got beat."
Yeah, I know. Well, I told him to do the wrong things then, apparently. That's what happens, I guess. I told him all the wrong things. So he should have been coaching me, I guess. But that's exactly how it is. Kids get so frustrated. And then you as a coach, you get so frustrated with yourself because you can't get into them to do the right things. And you start yelling at them. Pretty soon you're going to yourself. I'm frustrated with myself. I shouldn't be frustrated at him. I'm frustrated with myself, and I shouldn't be like that. But that's just kind of how I am. And then I walk away, and then about 10 minutes later, I have to look all around the gymnasium, look for him, and go, "I'm sorry, it's me. It's not you. You did a great job. Let's move on." So yeah, that's interesting. And then Makowski, how it said that.
Yeah.
So
let's talk a little bit. Now we're already an hour and 12 minutes. Mitch, we're going to get you in. Did you watch anything Mitch this weekend with RTC stuff? Let's have.
Yeah, I tried to get a little bit of that on the computer here, but I guess I was really trying to watch the heavyweights. No surprise there probably. So I watched both of the matches with Gwiz and Paris, and then Gable and Gwiz. I tried to watch a few others too, but
most
those are the ones that I really paid attention to.
No, I enjoyed. I'm amazed that here. Well, here's one of my analysis. I'm amazed at the money that can come into this, and I'm happy for them, the club or whatever. If you a top team, that Cliff Keen team can walk away with $50,000, that's phenomenal.
Yes.
That is only going to make the sport even better along the way. People are going to hang around, learn to keep going. There's an opportunity maybe to travel a little more. Everybody's been broke to been traveling back in my era, and having to do so much more and find a way to do camps. But impressed with several people. There's a couple times I was impressed with that Ty Walls. Who else is? And Paris, of course. Good wrestler. Mason Paris was phenomenal this weekend.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of people to be impressed with. Trent Hidley, 80 North Carolina State guy, went 5-0, looked fantastic. He moves good. He's powerful. He explodes. He likes an underhook too, Jeff. He wrestles different from an underhook than I do. You watch it and you just can't even, if you use that underhook, that knee tap, if you watch him do that against a JV high school kid, you think, yeah, that's who that's going to work against. And he's doing it against the best guys in the world, and it works. It must be just that he must generate just a tremendous amount of power in that position. But, that was great. Yanni looked good. Kind of the interesting thing that came out of this after that, James Green says he is going to 65 kilograms for the Olympic trials. So that'll be interesting. He did not look very good at 65 kilograms in the last trials. He is just a tweener. It's really tough. I'm hoping I'm a big James Green fan. So I think Logan Massa looked good.
How about that? What was the guy's name that beat Seth Gross in the finals there?
Nahshon Garrett. And Gross actually looked great all weekend. But I have a feeling Nahshon Garrett, by the time you got there, was 15 pounds bigger than anybody else at 57 kilograms. That was what, plus 3 kilograms, and they only weighed in the first day. So you get he was on full feed. He's a tweener too. I mean, him at 57 kilograms is going to be pretty tough on a 2-day weigh-in at the Olympic trials, but he's good. I mean, obviously, he's a very talented guy. So, I thought Gross looked good. I thought Gable, I would have liked to see Gable wrestle more matches, but he looked good. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Minnesota taking last, the Gophers.
Well, they don't, they're pretty weak at 57 kilograms in that, in that respect. I mean, that's just such a tough weight class that was there.
Well, Sanders is no slouch, but he got kind of pounded quite a few times.
Well, Zach Sanders won a lot of matches over the years, but when you start having guys like Vito in there and Seth Gross and wrestling for Cliff Keen and there's a lot of talent there. So he's on, and Zach's on the backside of his competition career, of course. Who else looked really good? I thought Carson Karchula,
Ohio State
freshman. Yeah, he looked really good. He wrestled, he went 5-0. Looked really good. I think he's gonna, they've been talking about how good he's looked in the room there in Ohio State. So that was, kind of fun to see. And that's a kid that obviously grew up, kind of in a Russian style. His dad was a Russian national champ, and grew up there in Ohio. But that's, a kid that I don't believe he competed. I think he wrestled all the time, but I do not believe he competed until he was like in 8th grade. I think he just drilled.
Okay.
So he obviously has some fire to go, and he looked really good.
Yeah. Some of the early matches I saw that criteria came in, and then a lot of them went 4-2 later. Explain how that criteria went again, because I know you got extra points for if they didn't score, and then if you teched them. So do you remember how that?
Well, I don't remember exactly how all of the technical points go there. Jeff probably could spell that out for you better than I can, but obviously there's a few more points, when it comes to the, a tech fall or a if you keep the guy scoreless, you get extra, they get a point if they score. And Makowski is so much fun to have on here. You should have him on every week.
Yeah, he's another one.
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to even just talk a little bit more about just the dual format. I think that really showed how important those duals are and the dual tournaments are to the sport. I think that these RTC duels are going to. It really went over well. Flo had said that it was one of the most viewed things they've ever streamed. So I think between them and Titan Mercury, they're going to do more of this stuff. And I think it shows how important the duels are could, you know, at the collegiate level too. So
That's cool.
And obviously very high. Oh, I know another one that Colin Moore looked good. And then, you know, then he ends up getting beat by Machiavello in that last match. And so that was kind of interesting, but it was fun to watch. I thought the format was great. You know, it'd be fun to see, and I'm glad, I'm really happy with the teams that showed up. I think it'd be fun if you see an Lion club in there and a hockey wrestling club in there. And I know that Pitt said they're coming to the next one, you know, and very possibly, you know, a year from now, you know, the Pitt RTC is going to have a guy by the name of Jordan Burroughs in the room. So that could be interesting too. So yeah, it's fun. It was a good time.
Definitely. So
Mitch, those are a different style of heavyweight than we see sometimes.
Absolutely, they are. They move pretty well.
Fun to watch.
So Mitch, what is your college team?
Kind of, I guess. I don't really have a team. I just cheer for a lot of the individuals I like. You know, I guess maybe the Gophers, but Ohio State, I was kind of big on them for a little while, but kind of comes and goes, I guess. So.
Okay. Yeah. How about now for your wrestlers? Now, when you're coming in the room, what kind of style of wrestling are you taking to them right now? Are you working on a lot of stuff on your feet? What is your mindset in the wrestling room right now?
Well, right now at the beginning of the year, we're just, you know, we kind of lost that the first 2 weeks that you build up to the season, and you know, we kick off our season with 2 regional duels a week from Friday with Castleton and Hillsborough. So we kind of took the approach that you know, we got to get these guys in wrestling shape. So we've been focusing a lot on just hard drilling and live wrestling and get those guys ready to go. And you know, I don't know if I want to say we've been lax on technique, but we probably haven't spent as much time on technique as we would normally, or maybe as we should. But we're going to make sure that we're in shape when the season starts and we're competing. So, you know, I think one of the issues, or I don't know what you'd call it an issue, but it's going to be really tough to get our younger kids competitions this year with the way that the schedule is set up. And, you know, we said, you know, the kids that are going to be on the mat a lot there are kids that have been wrestling, you know, for many years. And so, I mean, we're still definitely going over technique every day, but not probably to the point that we would on a typical year. So it's kind of more in your face right now and get these guys ready to have some trial by fire.
Yep. I'm worried about those fringe kids who are going to get less matches because of this, you know, in situations.
Yep. And even in Class B, some of the smaller programs that have number issues, you know, in our region, you know, we've got the Mayvilles and the Larimores that, you know, they don't have a lot of kids on the roster. So, you know, when we had a meeting probably 6 weeks ago now, but they said, you know, you take a tournament like the rugby tournament or the Castleton tournament, and they got 25 teams in it, or Linton on a typical year, you got 25 teams there. And now we got to cut that down to 6. The team that's bringing 2 kids probably isn't going to get that invite to be one of the 6 remaining schools. So, you know, we're just really trying to be creative on how to get those types of programs matches and those younger kids that are even on the bigger programs that are inexperienced. How do we get our JV kids matches? We got 31 kids on the team and only 14 weight classes. So, you know, we got 16, 17 kids that, you know, we have to keep them interested in the sport. So that's going to be a big issue, a big obstacle to overcome this year. So we're going to have to get creative.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be big that we really push spring wrestling this year. You know, the USA wrestling, AAU or whatever it is, we have to bring those kids along, because that missing last year, not having it, I think we got a little gap here happening in the sport where we're going to wonder what's going on. And it's sad. As much as I want the explosion of wrestling, both male and female, I think we've missed a grade of kids this last spring, not having everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's something we're going to really have to look at, do a lot of recruiting. We're going to have to get back into the classroom. I mean, every coach in every town. And if they need something, that's very important that we all, as coaches, put in some extra time this year to try to catch it back up.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, okay, one more here. Let's see what 100% Serious Jeff is one of the best technicians I've been around and has a unique ability to quickly build a relationship with his athletes, campers. He loves people, and I think he loves helping people succeed. When I was just starting off coaching profession, I watched him, talked with him a lot, soaked up the knowledge he would share. Hell of a role model for me. That's a great comment, Jim. Yes.
Well, he was easy to do it.
Yep.
You know, he was. I was learning from him. He didn't even know that.
Well, it's interesting. We all have that same passion and be able to live it together, though. You guys got to work, and it's those memories that keep you going, definitely. And the friendships you build through the sport. So true. Well, I tell you what, we're sitting at that hour and a half place. I want to give you my quick questions, and then Bill, if you got any last questions too. I always fire off a few quick questions for the guys, and I want to hear some for you guys. So here we go. And both you guys can answer as the guest tonight. Okay. Here are the questions. I've got a little sheet I usually pull up a little bit here. Okay. Question number 1 for you guys. These are rapid, quick fire questions. Okay. I'll have Shu, you can answer first. So the first one is, are you a Gatorade or Powerade guy?
Gatorade.
Mitch?
Gatorade.
Okay. Popsicles or dilly bars?
Popsicles.
Dilly bar.
Okay. Saturdays or Sundays?
Sundays.
Saturday.
Okay. Best day of the week?
Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
Okay.
Friday night.
Mama's boy or rebel?
Rebel.
I always think that's funny.
Yeah, I'd probably say rebel too.
Okay. Are you fast-paced or consistently slow?
Fast-paced.
Consistently slow.
Okay. Are you more of a mental athlete yourself, or were you more of a physical athlete in high school?
Physical.
Physical.
Okay. How about college?
Still think physical.
Yep.
Okay. And how about now?
I'd probably shift it to mental now.
I like the mental part, but I always feel like I got to do the physical work. You know, you
Yep.
all got to do the physical work to feel good that you deserve it then.
Okay. How about your athletes? You want them to be mental or physical?
I'd like to see them be really physical because I like to see them wear down people. I want them wearing down people.
Yeah, I want them in their face. Physical.
Okay. Favorite holiday?
Oh, I like Christmas.
4th of July.
Okay. Dan Gable or Cale Sanderson?
Gable.
Sanderson, just because of my age, probably.
That's usually what it is. It's an age difference. Favorite number?
1.
7.
You're an escape guy, huh? 1. Or taking first. the most common response has been 2, like a takedown's 2, but I like the number 1. That's pretty good. Okay, favorite move to show in the room?
A sweep single.
Believe it or not, probably some tilts.
Okay, big guy tilts. There we go. Usually the big guy is something like the lateral. No, I'm just kidding. bear hugs. No, underhooks, Russian ties. Hear all those type of things. Okay, best wrestler you've ever wrestled?
Oh,
Wrestler. Oh God. I'm trying to think of I wrestled Gable in practice a couple times.
Okay.
I don't think I can compete with that one, but I don't know. I guess when I was in college, I wrestled Jesse Labor was returning national champion The rest
Oh,
of
yeah.
fun.
Okay. And okay, another one. Is there any habit that you picked up from wrestling, okay, that you still do today when you first started wrestling? A habit. I'll tell you one that I did. I tell you what, I still weigh in. I still step on the scale in the morning, and sometimes I step on the scale before I go to bed so I know how much I drift.
I would say I still like to wear sauna suits.
Okay.
Probably with you, John. I got the scale right in my coaching office, PE teacher, so I'm in there. I check my weight in the morning and see if I lost any weight throughout the day.
There's a couple other ones I do. I still drink water like it's the best tasting thing ever. I do. I don't know what it is. Water doesn't have any taste to it, but it came from wrestling. I don't know what it was because I used to cut out water the last couple of days, so it just tasted so good. I just love water. I could drink like it's next thing you know,
that's good.
Yeah, that's a couple pounds right there. That's what
this week I had never seen before. We had a kid that he bringing a bottle of mouthwash to practice so he can just swish it around his mouth and then spit it out because he's got cotton mouth so bad. I've never seen anyone do that before.
Yeah, he didn't want his breath to smell bad either, so that's pretty good. Yeah. Tell him gum should work.
Right.
I tell you what, another thing still is I put at wrestling tournaments, I have Rolaids in my pocket. And that comes from Gabriel. And surprisingly enough, nail clippers. I still bring them to the wrestling tournaments, and I'm not even sometimes I don't have anybody involved. Somebody has to clip their fingernails, so it pretty much can find me.
That's good.
That's pretty good, yeah. Any other big ones, Bill?
No, I don't have any more. I could ask questions to Shuey all night long, but I'm not gonna. So it's always fun.
No, Shuey. So I'm gonna last comments for tonight, Shuey, because we've got an hour and a half. We do this every week, guys. If you guys are watching this for the first time, we've been going on Wednesdays for quite a while. I had Randy Lewis a couple weeks ago. I had Jim on a couple weeks ago. I tried to get wrestling coaches on. Terry Steiner will be on next week. He agreed. I've got Terry Pack, so I might have two Terrys come on next week. I got Terry Pack that'll come on next week from the Legends of Gold down South Dakota. Going to bring him on, and then I'm going to Terry Steiner next week. So guys, that's my last comments except one more. But Jeff, you got some comments? Last comments on how the season or anything like that, or advice?
We hope to do well.
Okay, Bismarck High looks to do well
and finish. We should finish. We're going to finish this season. It's going to happen. It's going to be a full season. I really think it is. So that's good. State tournament.
I did see on Twitter yesterday that they said Kyle Berwick's going to have a match at the Underground 2 against the Bianchi.
Yep.
That'll be fun to watch.
Good.
Yeah, we've got a couple of those matches coming up. I think in that one there's also going to be Seth Gross against Gilman. So there'll be some good matches that night. But another chance to see Berwick wrestle. That'll be fun. I do. There was one thing I didn't want to say. I want to give a shout out. We mentioned Jason Anderson earlier. Well, Jason's nephew, Bridger Anderson, a state champion out of Carrington, is steer wrestling at the National Finals Rodeo this week. Right, they're night 5 tonight, so they got 5 nights left. But he's doing a great job. He's right in the average. He got a first place one night. He's I think he's 3rd or 4th in the world right now. The world standing, he was 2nd after the 2nd round, so he's doing great. We're proud of him. This is a kid that I remember. This would be the normal weekend of the Carrington tournament, and we'd be rolling mats up or putting mats down, and we'd be talking about the rodeo because we both wanted to get home and watch it at night, getting home. So. And he knew he was going to be in this event someday. I mean, there was no doubt in this kid's mind from a very young age that, I'll even go back to that. He was about 3.5 years old, and his mother will tell you the story that he walked in the house one day and said, "I'm not going to daycare anymore. I quit." Cowboys do not go to daycare. And he did not go back. They're like, yeah, I guess you're right, Bridger. And he did not go back. He was he knew better, right? Cowboys do not go to daycare. So yeah, he's a obviously a good tough kid, and was a great kid in the room, and worked hard, and had had the goal set, and obviously he was a part of a state championship team, and won a state title himself. So and yeah, so, great job, Bridger. We're proud of you and rooting him on here for the rest of the week.
It's amazing, Bill. You can find something in there. It's good. That's awesome. No, again, guys, we're hitting at that hour and a half. So I'm going to say, peace out, everybody. You guys keep it positive. It's one thing that makes a big difference. Like Bill and I said, we're setting our default on positive, making sure we're pushing the aspect that wrestling's still great out there and everybody can enjoy it. Promote the sport. And I tell you what, if you have an opportunity, get some young kids out wrestling, get their sisters to the mat, get everything possible, because guess what? It will pay off. The future needs to be tough. It really does.
Love it.
Jeff, thank you again. Mitch, we'll get you on. Again, both you guys, it's awesome. And all the people who made comments, thank you very much. A couple of you guys, if you guys put your addresses on there sometime, I will send some of you guys. I got some new t-shirts. I just had Randy Piotz make me some t-shirts at Dakota Screen Arts. Give him a little call out there. You guys need some t-shirts. Randy's got some. Dakota Screen Arts, dakotascreenarts.com. Find it in Bismarck. Our local businesses need their help. Definitely call on them when you need it. And I have some more Dakota Grapplers. I have a few left. A few other people want to say hi up there. Thanks to Velva. Go Aggie Wrestling. Terry, thanks, guys. Yes, Terry, thanks for coming on. And Terry, I'm looking forward to visiting with you. You got so much good stuff to talk about. So, guys, come back next week to Dakota Grappler Live. We'll have some good guests again. Guys, have a good night.
Thank you. Thanks.